What's up everyone, and welcome to the channel. So for today's video, I want to go over a buyer's guide for the BMW X5. I'm borrowing this from Hendrick BMW Northlake. Take a look at their website, that link is down in the description. I currently own a 2022 BMW X5, but we will be using the latest model year, the 2024, for today's video. So this is going to be a buyer's guide. I will share with you some of my ownership experience so far in the last 6 months of ownership. If you are looking for a luxury brand SUV, this is a great option to go with, and we have a lot to go over in today's video. So let's start off with the history of the BMW X5. This is actually the first ever SUV that was launched from BMW. It's also one of the longest running as far as the model years go, but the first generation for the BMW X5, the code name for that was E53. That came out in 1999 and ran until 2006. For the second gen, the code name for that was E70. That was from 2007 to 2010. For the 2011 to 2013 year model, that was actually a facelift for the second generation. The third generation code name was F15. That ran from 2014 to 2018. And now we have the fourth generation that you see behind me. Code name for the fourth gen is G05. Ran from 2019, of course, until the 24-year model. Now, during the development stage for this vehicle, the code names, and BMW uses this on a lot of other models as well, but the code name is there so that way they could identify the car before it got a name. So before this was released to the public as a BMW X5, all of the employees and everybody working on building this vehicle knew it as the G05. So that way it helped give the car some security before it was actually revealed to the public. That way BMW could get everything squared away with this vehicle before it came to public and everyone knew about it. Now, with the code names as well, what I found from those, if we look at the first and second generation, they both start with an E. E stands for development. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the German term for development, but that word starts with an E. And then the 70 for the first generation is the 70th car that BMW had developed. And then after that, BMW just decided to start going down the letters in the alphabet. So after E was F, of course, and then G, and then any numbers that are missing in those codes. So let's say there was E70 and then E72. E71, which is missing, or in this example, would be a car that didn't make it to production. So very interesting to see. That was the first time for me learning all of that information. I do have some relatives who work at BMW and have kind of hinted at some of the code names and why they came to be, but BMW has a lot of them. They have produced a lot of vehicles. They produce a lot every single day. So now let's go over all the different trim levels that are available for the X5. What I'll call the entry level is the S-Drive 40i. This is a rear-wheel drive variant. You can go with the X-Drive 40i, which gives you all-wheel drive. There's also the X-Drive 50e. I own an X-Drive 45e, which is a few years older, but the 50e is the hybrid or the plug-in hybrid version for this model, still giving you all-wheel drive. You can also get the M60i, or previously was the M50i, and then there's also the M Competition, which is the highest trim level. And with those different trim levels, there are two engine options that are available. For the S-Drive and the X-Drive, including the plug-in hybrid, you get a 3-liter twin-power turbo inline-6, and that makes 375 horsepower, 398 pound-feet of torque. For the M60 and the M Comp, you can go with the 4.4-liter twin-power turbo V8, which is the only engine option. That pumps out 523 horsepower, 553 pound-feet of torque. All these engines do have some tuning capabilities. You can flash the ECUs and do some modifications to them if you want to get out even more power. So let's jump to the pricing now for the BMW X5. If you start with the S-Drive or the X-Drive, they have a starting MSRP of $65,200. For the 50e, that bumps it up to $72,500. For the M60i, you're at $89,300. And then for the big boy, the M Competition, that starts at $122,000. That is a huge price discrepancy for this SUV, nearly doubling the base MSRP once you get up to the M Competition. Now, as far as the used ranges go, BMWs are known for depreciating fairly quickly. I own a 2022 X5 X-Drive 45e. That was roughly $60,000 with about 30,000 miles on it. A little bit on the higher side. The hybrid model does add to that versus if I had just gone with an X-Drive 40i, which doesn't have the hybrid system. But I have found them ranging between $5,000 and $100,000. $5,000 is going to be closer to the first generation X5. You're looking at 6 figures for the mileage, so over 100,000 miles on those vehicles. $100,000 is going to be maybe a used M Comp, maybe something closer to the M60i. So there's a vast range with all of these different trim levels, all these options, the depreciation for buying this even as a second owner. I am the second owner of my X5 as well. I would love to buy a brand new BMW, but that is the one thing that kind of shies me away from going with brand new, is being able to buy a used one for a very, very good deal, one that is certified pre-owned. I still have about 6 years left of warranty for my 2022. So that is something to note as well. If you get a brand new one or you lease a brand new one, you're going to have a longer warranty period versus going with used, where you may have to buy an extended warranty, or you can get one underneath the factory warranty, which is what my vehicle has. So there's a lot of different factors to consider in that, and just your pricing and your budget. But let's move on now to any recalls or issues for the BMWs. Now, a lot of people have known BMW to be very unreliable. I will agree to that with the older models. A lot of the newer models are fairly reliable. I bought a 2022. I wanted something newer than 2020. And I believe that the last 3 or 4 year models for BMW in general have become a lot more reliable. Toyota does have a small stake in BMW, which I think has helped slightly. But BMWs today, I really don't see any issues with them. However, with that being said, we do have some recalls that have been known for these models. One example is the electronic stability control. This is the integrated brake system that may malfunction. There could be a loss of power brake assistance or cause the analog brakes to not function properly. Obviously, that is a safety concern with the brakes, but this didn't affect that many vehicles, as I will get to here shortly. The next one was airbags. So for the passenger knee on the passenger front seat may not deploy. Obviously, another safety feature. But in the BMW SUV lineup, between the X5, the X6, the X7, and the all-new XM, only 2,300 models were affected with the two things that I just mentioned. So honestly, that is a very, very small percentage. And I feel like when people see these recalls, they miss the fine print of 2,300 models being affected. They see those and they figure every single car, every car has had a recall. They're not reliable. They're just not good. 2,300 is a very insignificant amount. BMW makes way more than 2,300 cars a day. So that's really not something to be concerned about. Just make sure you can run your VIN with the dealership just to see if there are any software updates or anything that could affect your exact vehicle. With the recalls out of the way, let's go over some of the major issues that are known with the BMWs. I'll start off with the coolant system issue. This is something that I've only found to really affect vehicles well over 100,000 miles. Faulty oil filter gaskets, again, over 125,000 miles. There are some electrical issues that are known. Most common is a blown fuse, which is very easy to replace. Broken window actuator, which would cost a little bit of money, and the AC faulty fuel pump. Again, anything over 125,000 miles. So with those major issues out of the way, unless you plan to own this vehicle for several years and you want to rack up past 100,000 miles, BMWs are going to be very reliable for their, I would say, the normal BMW ownership. With my 2022, I'm really going only to have it for the warranty period, and then I'll trade out, get another one, and extend that warranty with a different model. That's what a lot of people do with these vehicles. However, you could hang on to it for several years, just knowing that at some point you will have to look at some maintenance. Really, that's with any vehicle. Once you break 100,000 miles, there are some wear out components or some things that could go wrong with the vehicle with its lifetime being out on the road. But I think that's where BMW gets the bad name. People think kind of brand new vehicles, but everything that I have found is over 100,000 miles where you start to see some of those issues with these cars. And then before we get this out on the road, let's talk about maintenance, insurance, and any costs. So I've only owned my X5 for about 6 months, so I have $0 into maintaining it so far. However, the first oil change will be coming up. I'm looking to spend maybe $40 to $60 to do that. I'm going to do it myself in the garage, so that is going to save me some money. Dealerships are probably going to charge you a couple $100, maybe even more, to do the oil change for this vehicle. And then as far as insurance goes, I pay right around $87 a month to fully insure this vehicle. That is going to depend on where you live, your driving history, your age. There's a lot of factors that go into that, but that's just over $1,000 a year for me to insure this. And my registration, since I have to pay property taxes on this, is about $400 for the year. So it's really not all that expensive to keep this out on the road. One thing that I do want to dive into is the hybrid system. Since I have the 45e, I have found the batteries to be anywhere from $7,000 and up. That doesn't include labor, but like I said, I'm keeping mine in the warranty period, so that way I don't have to worry about that. But if you do go with a hybrid, that is an additional cost that you will have to think about, especially if you own it outside that warranty time. And before we get this X5 out on the road, let's just take a look at this particular model. So this is the xDrive 40i, finished off in skyscraper gray. And the MSRP for this particular model is in the $80,000 range. So we are at $85,645. You can get a lot of different packages: M Sport Pro, driver assistance, professional package, parking assist, executive, climate, and another M Sport Pro package. So this particular model has a lot of goodies, both on the exterior as well as on the interior. We have the black wheels, blue brake calipers, and you can get so many different options. I do think the M Sport Pro package just gives it a really nice front end design. And then for the interior, we have some of the wood trim, very nice seats, full moonroof too. It's a very nice SUV. Power liftgate as well. You can tow. I do have the trailer hitch on my X5 because I do use it for towing. So if you're looking for a luxury brand, but you also want to use it as a sport utility vehicle, it's not that expensive of an option to get the hitch for this. I believe it's around $600 or so. And I find it very interesting that not a lot of people do get the hitch. It is more of a luxury vehicle that a lot of people aren't going to use to tow, but this can tow 6,500 pounds. To me, if I'm buying an SUV, I'm going to use its full capabilities. So I had to find an X5 with a factory installed hitch for my purposes, just so that I could actually use it in what it's intended for. I'm not going to be driving this too long today. We have several videos of the X5, and then of course my ownership experience. We have some videos of my personal X5 as well. But this is an SUV that I have always enjoyed. I drive them a lot before I bought my own, and it was just a really nice everyday style SUV. It has a lot to offer. It's a good size too, just for putting anything in the back. If you want to go smaller, you can go with the X3 or of course the X1 or X2. But I think the X5 is definitely a good size. It has a lot of power, even if you don't go with the V8 engine. The inline six, the B58, is a very healthy and strong engine for this in general. And it drives super nice. We do not have the adaptive suspension for this particular model, but you can get that, where you can also raise and lower the vehicle as well. Any negatives to talk about with this vehicle? Over 6 months of ownership, I haven't had any complaints with mine, aside from some of the EV stuff and just getting used to how that drives. I think it's a really good platform, and you have the two different options to go with depending on what you would like. But I can get about 500 miles or so on one tank and several charge ups with the hybrid system. So I think it's really cool to have that integration into this SUV, but I really can't pick apart anything with it. I love it. That's why I decided to buy it. It is my wife's, so she daily drives it. It's her dream SUV, and she absolutely loves it. There's no regrets with getting it. We're just going to have to see what to replace it with another X5 when that time comes. So how do you know you're in the market for this vehicle? This is a luxury brand. If you're looking for a luxury SUV, obviously we have several different options out there, but I think for the cost, I think this is the best bang for your buck. As far as the options that you can get, I do own an Audi as well. I looked at some of the Audi SUVs, but I don't know, I liked this better. And of course, that's a personal taste and a personal preference. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of them, but I am a huge fan of the X5 here. And it's just it's a good, solid SUV that you can daily drive and just have a very nice luxury feel. But that's going to wrap it up for the buyer's guide for the BMW X5. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments. Since I own an X5, hopefully I can help you with any more info that I may not have covered in today's video. And if you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up. Consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.